Welcome Trinidad and Tobago to our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barito. Let's take a look at the headlines. Targeted approach to awarding scholarships to address national shortage in key skill areas. Citizens are being told not to panic over the recent confirmed local cases of the influenza A/H1N1 virus. And Ministry of Tobago awards scholarships to CAPE students. Thank you for joining us to our top story. Targeted approach to awarding scholarships has been taken in the effort to address the national shortage in key skill set areas. Public Administration Minister the Honorable Caroline Sipasad Bechan, announcing the scholarships, says scholarship policies this year will also focus on ensuring employment upon return.
Scholarships awarded this year from the Ministry of Public Administration will ensure training provided for persons will meet critical employment skills needed among the workforce in Trinidad and Tobago. 10 master's and 3 PhD scholarships were awarded to persons who have completed their undergrad programs and received first-class honors. Public Administration Minister Caroline Sipasad Bechan says the scholarships awarded meet the interim development list that outlines the various sectors in need of skilled persons.
2 undergraduate scholarships were awarded, 10 in the master's area and 3 in the PhD area. In the area of the undergraduate, sustainable energy and kinesiology. In the areas of masters, the 10 were in the areas of clinical dermatology, strategic planning, sustainable development, cultural and creative industries, clinical dermatology, mechanical engineering, structural engineering, and 1 in teaching. Cabinet also took the decision and advised that the Minister of Public Administration and the Minister of Planning and Sustainable Development take a look and update the interim development needs list to ensure that we include as a priority area entrepreneurship and innovation. So I wish to advise that first-class honors students desirous of pursuing postgraduate studies in these areas will become eligible over the next 4 weeks.
She says areas of study range from strategic development, health sciences, child education, agriculture, medicine, and petroleum management studies, to name a few.
This is a list that is prepared by the various ministries, and it's called the National Development Human Resource Needs of Trinidad and Tobago, and it includes the areas of agriculture, petroleum and mining, central and local government areas, health, national security, sports, energy, and of course medicine, the areas of medicine, education, training, cultural, community, printing, publishing, hotels, etc.
Minister Sipasad Bechan says revised policies also look at ensuring placement within the private sector is provided to returning first-class honours scholars, ensuring employment upon completion of studies.
With respect to the award of postgraduate scholarships for first-class honours students, I want to say that we have a revised policy which was enunciated last year. And that was because of concerns expressed publicly about the return on the investment of taxpayers' dollars in scholarships. As you know, with respect to scholarships, we must ensure that when scholars return to Trinidad and Tobago, they can be adequately placed, and that we are not producing surplus in our bright and the best in areas where we have no placement, meaning that there are no vacancies either in the public service or in the private sector. I think the world over, when we are dealing with scholarships are awarded in areas where a country has a shortage of those skill sets specifically required for the development of their country. Our placement policy is being updated to ensure that at the end of the day, scholars returning can actually expedite their experience, and in addition to that, to ensure that they're also able to maximize their contribution to national development.
Scholarships are awarded to citizens to pursue programs of study regionally or internationally that are not available locally. Kimram Calawan, News 4.
Citizens are being told not to panic over the recent confirmed local cases of the influenza A/H1N1 virus, but rather adopt good personal hygiene practices to protect themselves and others.
The Ministry of Health is assuring the public that all systems for response to influenza A H1N1 cases are in place at local institutions. On Tuesday, the ministry received information from the Caribbean Public Health Agency's laboratory of 6 confirmed local cases of the virus, commonly known as swine flu. 3 of these were detected at the San Fernando General Hospital, 1 at the Eric Williams Medical Sciences Complex, and 2 at unknown or non-labeled areas. On Wednesday, at a press briefing, Minister of Health, Dr. the Honorable Fuad Khan, explained that the virus has existed in Trinidad and Tobago since 2009, and the recent panic may have been as a result of cases and even the possibility of a death as a result of the flu in neighboring countries.
Those who are what we call immunocompromised, those who are susceptible, such as the 6 months to 5 years, which is the young children, the elderly above the age of 65, those with respiratory disorders such as asthma, etc., those who are on chemotherapy drugs, which are some overt diabetics, also people who, if for some reason or the other, would have an illness where their defense mechanisms in their bodies do not respond properly.
The Honourable Minister is advising persons who are experiencing influenza-like symptoms to visit their nearest health facility and seek early medical attention. He then listed the symptoms that one should look out for.
Those with a very high fever over 38 degrees centigrade, sore throat, runny nose, cough, headaches, body pains, fatigue and tiredness. Now if you look at it, children with vomiting and diarrhea, not taking their feeds, those who are not taking water and totally restless. Now when you look at those symptoms, you're looking at symptoms of a normal common cold. So I would suggest that anybody who or whose family has these symptoms should see a medical doctor to be assessed as soon as possible. The Ministry of Health, we have adequate medication for management, we have adequate vaccines for prevention, but there should not be a run on vaccinations.
Minister Khan explained that it takes 5 days to receive test results, and as such, only high-risk patients would receive the vaccine following an assessment by a doctor. In the same breath, he said the social aspect is most important in terms of prevention.
When you cough, cover your mouth, or when you sneeze, any droplets, make sure it's in something that does not spread. The cough and the sneezing droplets could go approximately 6 feet. So if one has that disorder, one should stand back, cover the area and cough into it. When you do wash your hands, you can use sanitizers to kill the virus. Sunlight and fresh air kills the virus at a distance. Washing of hands with soap and water will make sure the virus does not exist. If you are to use a public place, a public toilet or public tap or public area, and you touch an area, you should try to sanitize your hands, wash it with soap and water before anything goes into your mouth. So it's basically what prevents this virus is simple, proper hand washing, hygiene and cough social actions.
The Ministry of Health is embarking on a public education campaign that will seek to make citizens aware of the virus, the risks of contact, prevention, symptoms and treatment. Persons with flu-like symptoms are also advised to stay away from work or school for 7 to 10 days or at least 24 hours after all symptoms have ended, get plenty of rest and drink clear fluids to keep hydrated. Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
When we come back, the Ministry of Tobago Development awards scholarships. Stay with us. Three young students who excelled at the Cape level were recently awarded scholarships by the Ministry of Tobago Development at a special reception. The students were recognized for their excellent performance and other significant accomplishments while at secondary school.
Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Tobago Development, Mrs. Bernadette Solomon Koroma, encouraged the young scholars to continue on the path to excellence, as their success is also the success of the Ministry of Tobago Development as they seek to assist Tobagonians in every spectrum of life, including education.
And I'm pleased this evening to celebrate 3 young Tobagonians who have made us all proud. I want to let the 3 aspiring scholars know that your success is our success. Your success is Tobago's success. And we are behind you 100% as you continue to climb further up the ladder.
She advised the students when they get to the tertiary education level to pursue degrees in areas that will assist in developing the island of Tobago. Minister of Tobago Development Dr. Delman Baker, after congratulating the scholars, said even while scholars are being awarded in Tobago, it is still not at the level it should be when compared to our sister isle, Trinidad, as more scholarships should have been awarded to Tobagonians. He asked a very important question.
So the question that has to be asked today is what is wrong with the education system in Tobago as to why we cannot meet our quota of scholarship students, of SCA passes, and of CXC passes.
He continued that Tobago students are still underperforming at both the SCA and CXC levels and is still very far behind their Trinidad counterparts. As a result of this, his ministry has created a new unit known as the Human Capital Development Unit, directed by a former vice principal, Cecil Dalrymple, to deal with such problems.
We got the government, through its allocation, to give us an additional $8 million to treat with matters of human capital development and skills training on the island of Tobago.
The students receiving the scholarships are Shalimaya Peterkin, President's Medal winner, Dwayne Henry for mathematics, and Lemuel Phillips for science. The ceremony was kept at the Ministry of Tobago Development Building. Reporting from Tobago, Patricia Nicholson, News 4.
In other news, wildlife conservation is the aim of the Ministry of Environment and Water Resources as it places a 2-year ban on hunting in this country and works out the mechanisms to treat with all aspects of the long-term beneficial measure.
Minister of the Environment and Water Resources, Senator the Honourable Ganga Singh, along with technocrats from his ministry, met with Tobago House of Assembly Secretary of Agriculture, Marine Affairs, Marketing and the Environment, Assemblyman Godwin Adams, and other THA representatives. The meeting on Monday was arranged to discuss the 2-year moratorium on hunting and mechanisms for enforcement in Tobago. On September 19th, Minister Singh announced during the post-cabinet news briefing that a 2-year moratorium will be placed on hunting in Trinidad and Tobago with effect from the 2013-2014 hunting season, which began on October 1st. The Honourable Minister is quoted as saying the ban will give the ministry time to engage consultants to do the baseline survey in our sanctuaries and forest reserves to establish a scientific basis on wildlife data of the various species and to allow for their sustainability. Data analysts from the mandatory hunting return data forms conducted by the University of the West Indies and the University of Wisconsin for the 1990 to 1993 hunting seasons revealed that the catch hunting effort relationships of the agouti, lap, red-brochet deer, quench and tattoo had a consistent negative relationship, suggesting that the populations of these animals were being overexploited. In addition to the ban, the Office of the Attorney General is now reviewing the penalties and fines in the Conservation of Wildlife Act with a view to increase these penalties. The Honourable Minister said the government is well aware of the potential socio-economic impact of these measures on communities which depend upon the hunting season to make a living. In the long term, these measures are expected to redound to the benefit of the game animals and wetland birds as well as the hunters. The mandate of the Ministry of the Environment and Water Resources is to sustainably manage the nation's natural resources in a manner to ensure that there is a balance between economic and social development while maintaining the integrity of the environment. Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
When we come back, our sport report, stay with us. The fight against breast cancer got another sporting boost on Wednesday when the Give Cancer the Boot initiative was launched at the Queen's Park Oval in Port of Spain. Wayne Cunningham has more about fighting cancer and playing football at the same time.
The Vision Forward International Organization launched the Give Breast Cancer the Boot project, which aims at a union between football and the fight against breast cancer. Former Trinidad and Tobago international footballer Brent Sancho is co-founder of Vision Forward, and he outlined the reasons for the initiative.
In Trinidad and Tobago, cancer is the third leading cause of death, with breast cancer ranking as the second leading cause of death by cancer. Reports from the Trinidad and Tobago Cancer Registry on the Trinidad and Tobago situation indicated that 18,136 persons were affected with cancer between 1995 and 2004, with cases increasing at an annual rate of 11%.
This is the third edition of Give Breast Cancer the Boot, and Mr. Sancho is expecting a great level of participation, especially with the new Caribbean Under-17 Women's Champions in the mix.
This tournament has always brought a high level of football. We have been very fortunate to have some of the better teams in Trinidad participating in this tournament, and this year is no different. And I'd like to congratulate Mr. Phillips and, of course, the rest of the TTFA for sending the Women's Under-17 team to participate this year. They were in the inaugural competition, as you may know, and it would be good to see them there again.
The fans will also benefit from action off the pitch.
The action off the field is also heating up. We have free screening provided by the cancer unit. Again, testing for the first 50 pre-treats are free and participants. We will also have survivors' testimonies. They will be passed around to the various tents, speaking to the girls about their testimonies, cancer survivors. We will also have the Ministry of Health will be providing us with information, nutrition, as it relates to cancer on the day. We have a bouncy castle and preschool care by EduGarden Preschool, as well as tons of giveaways on the day.
Kimlin Harilal of the Trinidad and Tobago Cancer Society expressed her organization's delight with the project.
Vision Forward International's event, Give Breast Cancer the Boot, has actually continued to put the fight back in breast cancer, put the fight back in women, and put the fight back in awareness. This initiative, hosted strategically, I must say, during Breast Cancer Awareness Month, plays a crucial role, not just for us at the Cancer Society, but for women all over Trinidad and Tobago, in increasing the public's awareness and engaging them in a different way in football.
Former national footballer Kia Rigsby also gave her approval.
It really is a good experience and fulfilling to my personality, and to know that I could play ball and bring awareness to people around, not only to myself and the players, but to the public. I think that is a very good form of bringing awareness to people, especially since Trinidadians, we really love football.
14 teams, including the national under-17s and the defending champions Trin City Nationals, will take to the St. Mary's College ground on Sunday to give breast cancer the boot. Wayne Cunningham, News 4 Sports.
News 4 continues after the break. Stay with us. The 21st meeting of the Special Committee on Disaster Risk Reduction of the Association of Caribbean States follows on from the mandate issued to ACS Directorate of Disaster Risk Reduction at this year's Summit of Heads of State and/or Government hosted in Haiti.
Mr. Carlos Castillo, Director of International Relations, Permanent Contingency Commission, COPEC, representing Honduras in its capacity as chair of the ACS Special Committee for Disaster Risk Reduction, who will serve as chair for the series of meetings, gave a brief summary.
What we'll be doing is seeking to have approval of the of the committee itself, of the work that the ACS will be doing in the field of disaster risk reduction over the next year, and going right into our summit next year. Additionally, there are some initiatives that are being carried out by some of our regional counterparts, which you would see on the agenda, and they are presenting some of their particular specific objectives. And one of the key ones is the input into this meeting of our DPECO counterparts. DPECO being that the action plan for the region that's facilitated through the European Commission for Humanitarian Assistance.
He says they will be discussing the implementation of several projects, in particular capacity building.
We have a regional diploma that's online, and we have a regional master's program which is seeking to, through cooperation with regional universities, to improve the professional capacity of the persons in disaster risk reduction in the region. On the other plank, we're looking at sensitization of the public, and one of the key projects that the ACS is actually working on is what we call the radio soap opera, The Rough Season, which is a way of disseminating to the public information about disaster preparedness and readiness.
ODPM CEO Dr. Stephen Ramroop also addressed the gathering. He presented on the post-2015 Framework on Disaster Risk Reduction, HFA2, which will then be taken into account during the drafting of the ACS Work Programme 2014-2015.
We have gotten the government to approve an interministerial council on an interministerial committee that meets with the head of the disaster office every quarter. We also have gotten the government of Trinidad and Tobago to endorse our National Disaster Risk Reduction Committee. This is a non-governmental, private sector-led committee that involves all the sectors, both in the private, public, and civil society, even the diplomatic community and the United Nations.
Projects such as strengthening hydrometeorological operations and services in the Caribbean Small Island Developing States, SHOCS 2, Green Response Program, International Virtual Diploma in Risk Management and Disaster Reduction, and Hope for Initiative, among others, have been highlighted as key areas for discussion on next week's meeting agenda. The meeting also incorporated some of the outcomes from the DPECO planning workshop, which was held on September 30th and October 1st. According to Director of Disaster Risk and Reduction of the ACS, Mr. George Nicholson, the primary objective of the meeting is to provide an update on current progress as it relates to the mandate put forward at the 5th Summit of the ACS, and additionally propose and examine improved measures and developmental strategies for regional disaster risk reduction implementation. It is expected that the 21st meeting of the Special Committee of Disaster Risk Reduction of the ACS will prove to be both a fruitful and productive engagement in realizing its objectives, as the association seeks to take another progressive step towards the development of the Greater Caribbean region. Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
Well, that's how we wrap up this edition of our News 4 Report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barreto. Thank you for joining us.